So this has served her well, and she has used these skills acquired in her childhood throughout her professional career, and most recently as a marketing director for a local home restoration company. Within the last 22 months to 2 years though, Jackie noticed changes going on in our country and in our state and in our local community that was causing her concern and actually causing her sleepless nights of worry. She started to worry about the future and future generations. So she began reading countless books, articles, visiting websites, doing anything and everything she could, listening to various radio programs, and she began to attend numerous conferences, meetings, classes, and taking training courses in order to become as educated on what was going on within our country and seeing the negative changes that occurred. Well, it was this concern and this worry that led her to where she is now. She realized that something is not quite right within our current government and within some of our political leaders. So she heard quite frequently that ordinary citizens, someone, can no longer, anyone has to do something. No one can just sit by on the sidelines or on the couch and ignore what's happening. And she recognized that someone was going to be her. So, without any further ado, please give me the honor and the pleasure to announce your future Indiana State Representative of District 72, my sister, Jackie Bright Grubbs.
Well, I want to thank Cindy. I want to thank my fabulous campaign team for helping put this event together tonight. I tell you what, someone asked me what I thought about the campaign so far, and I said it's about 10 or 20 times more work than I realized it would ever be, and so I could not do this without all of you all, so thank you so much. Well, it was difficult to actually come up with a topic to talk about because there is so much going on in our state, country, and around the world. Indiana grassroots involvement is growing and getting big as citizens are paying attention locally and at the state level. There are events happening throughout the state for liberty and for education, not indoctrination. Citizens are frustrated as mask mandates continue in the schools, and the state of emergency will probably be renewed for the 23rd time. There is a lawsuit in Allen County, and it shows a lot of promise. The judge has said that a trial is required to decide if state laws were violated by the government for the quarantine of healthy children and also by disruptions to education, which is a right guaranteed in the Indiana State Constitution. There have been some good bills written by some of our state representatives and senators to protect us against the health department's overreach, to protect kids against critical race theory, social emotional learning, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to protect children from obscene books in schools. There was also a bill to approve repurposed drugs as a treatment for COVID, since they had shown to be very effective in saving lives, allowing the doctor-patient relationship. Unfortunately, many of these bills have died in committee. We the people are angry, and we have had enough. This is a blatant slap in the face to the people who elected these politicians into office. Voters are not being represented by the state legislature, and that is why there's an unprecedented wave of citizens like myself who are running for state office. Through my own experience, as well as talking with family and friends, I am aware of the challenges, hardships, and inconveniences that Hoosier children, parents, and grandparents have endured over the last 2 years. Students have had a terrible academic experience. Young children have been expected to learn in such a strange environment that they can't see their teachers or anyone else's face because they all have to wear masks all day. College students have endured isolation and quarantine, plus full-time mask wearing, regular COVID tests, and eating alone. These children are becoming accustomed to living in a police state, not in a free state. Parents who have just gotten back to work after last year's lockdowns, many who lost income, are now faced with the burden of finding childcare when their healthy children are forced to quarantine, or else they have to stay at home
from work with their children. Even the parents who can work from home are still trying to do their jobs while trying to keep their children engaged with the virtual learning. So, who is greatly responsible for this? Recently, I watched a video interview of Eric Eggers, who is the Vice President of the Government Accountability Institute. Eric said that the teachers' unions admit that their core function is no longer teachers' pay, teachers' health care, or small classroom sizes. They are no longer advocates for education, and they want to do away with academic testing. The teachers' unions, the two main ones being the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, say their core function is political activism. According to Mr. Eggers, most teachers do not align with the teachers' union's beliefs, and the teachers just want to do their jobs. In 2008, the teachers' unions donated $3.7 million in campaign contributions, and in 2020, they donated $20 million in campaign contributions. And did you know the teachers' unions helped the CDC write their school closing COVID guidelines? And of course, big box stores stayed open, and so did the liquor stores. Teachers' unions are also involved in election activism with the push for expanded mail-in ballots and voter registration. Traditionally, school board meetings are poorly attended, and most school board members are elected because of their union influence. This explains why parents were so poorly received by most of the school boards throughout the country when the parents came to make their concerns heard. The teachers' union wrote 34 resolutions last year. 16 were about social justice and race. 5 were about LGBTQ. The teachers' unions have infiltrated our school systems with their radical ideology and social justice curriculum. This is a harmful and destructive path for our children. These organizations, with their influence, undermine the citizens and have swung the power to a huge, overpowering, overbearing bureaucracy. We have seen the destruction of free speech, the loss of liberty, coercion and compliance, censorship and propaganda, as well as strong division in this country. These woke institutions play the large role in this. We must protect our Hoosier families from the political influence of the teachers' union and other organizations like them. We can see solid evidence of how damaging it is to allow the unions to make campaign contributions and influence who is elected. There are many ways that organizations and unelected administrative states negatively impact our lives. OSHA's unconstitutional mandates were a prime example. There is currently a federal bill, H.R. 5813, and it's in committee, and it would repeal and abolish OSHA if it is passed. That could be the beginning of ending the intrusion of these bureaucratic institutions that cost American citizens millions of dollars to fund them every year. This past Sunday, there were freedom rallies all over the world. And in Washington, D.C., it was called Defeat the Mandates. You can catch the replay on Epoch. Several of the doctors there talked about the war on the inexpensive, repurposed drugs, like the one that begins with the letter I, that could have saved thousands of lives over the last 2 years of COVID. That is another example of how big institutions and big corporations have a negative impact in our lives. As stated by a doctor who spoke at Defeat the Mandates, medical freedom is tied to your social freedom and to your economic freedom. We as Americans must choose to live up to our potential regardless of the cost and stand up and speak up for our freedoms and liberty. I am a true constitutional conservative candidate. I am pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-secure elections, pro a free market economy, pro-academic education, and pro-shrinking the size of the government. I am Jackie Bright Grubbs, and I am running for Indiana State Representative in District 72. I love my country, I love my state, and I love my community. I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Jackie gets away too far here. I was out shopping, and Jackie is a collector of Christmas ornaments. I knew that, being her sister. And she traveled, and I don't know about you, but I'm wondering how much we are going to get to be able to travel in the future, depending upon are you vaxxed, are you not vaxxed, and all this. But anyway, I found an ornament, and it's not of a place, it's not of New Albany, Indiana, but this, to me, epitomized who Jackie is. And it's the Statue of Liberty wrapped in the American flag. And this made me think of Jackie, and I'm so proud of her. And as she said, I hope she can count on you for her vote. For your vote, I mean, and get the word out to others, please.
I know so many people that will love her.
That is wonderful.
I just have to say, I do.
Well, thank you. And, you know, I always get emotional when I talk about the country. You know, I guess I have to get better at that, but that's just how passionate I feel about everything. And I got that from my dad, you know.
Yeah. So please join me again and give it back.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here. My name is Mary Brewer, and I am a volunteer on Jackie's campaign. It is great to see so many wonderful friends' faces here. Many of hold true to the same core values and beliefs that Jackie and all of us on her team stand for. I have never felt more honored to help a good candidate run for office. What I respect most about Jackie is that she stepped up to this calling, not from her own ambitions, but because she, like us, sees a real problem with the current state of our country. In Jackie, we have a candidate that has the well-being of the average American in her heart. We have in Jackie a small-town girl with a voracious thirst for truth and courage and tenacity to fight for our freedoms and our liberty. I would like each of you to think about how you might be able to help Jackie with this noble mission. Whether it be your time, signing up tonight to be a volunteer, we're in need of lots of door knockers, or giving a donation from your heart. Campaigns are very expensive. If you, like me, want to be a part of a driving force to bring freedom back to Indiana, I prayerfully ask you to support Jackie by giving her a generous donation tonight. She is not independently wealthy and able to self-fund this endeavor, so we must raise money if we're going to successfully put her in office and send her up to Indianapolis. At this time, more than ever, we need the fire and determination of every freedom-loving American. The time to fight for our country is now. We must come together and support good, constitutional candidates to rise up, united, and save our homeland. We would appreciate if each of you take the time to meet Jackie and let her know how much you support her. Thank you all so much. God bless you.